So now we're going to go over upon request negotiations. Now, let me just put this title here. Negotiations. Now, many people fuck up negotiations. There's a little bit of objection handling that comes into it, but the reason that you most likely fuck up objection handling is because you don't know the limits and levels that you need to go to. You have a price in your head, you don't have any justification for the price or understanding of what's actually happening, and then you're just arguing for the sake of arguing or saying numbers for the sake of saying numbers. You have to recognize that when someone is a prospect that you're speaking to, they're in their niche, they've been working there, they know the margins, they know what they take home. Most likely you don't, right? So the first thing you have to do is be considerate. What I mean is of the market. So you need to understand what the low is, what the high is. Now the things that dictate this obviously are going to be the location. Obviously if it's rural versus city, and depending on the niche, it will adjust. Whether it's real estate, home remodeling, anything at all, med spa. Depending on where you are, the location is going to dictate it. So you need to see what is the high end, what is the low end of what they make. Now obviously this is just a little bit of calculus calculated, but you need to understand their margins. Now obviously in some places, the only thing that they need to consider is tax. Let's say it's a heavily service-based business with minimal costs, such as an example, real estate, they have to worry about some commissions and some tax. But now if it's a med spa, or if it's a gym as an example, you have to have a good understanding of what they need to pay before they make money. So let's say you bring them one person. That person pays 500. You may think that they've made 500, the fuck they have, right? They may have made 125. And you need to understand, cool, you've got 125 to play with. How much can you take? How much can you keep with? But another thing you have to consider is, what is the lifetime value? Lifetime value is one thing that's very important to consider in this case, because basically in all niches, one customer, now this is dependent on them doing their job properly. One customer can lead to 10 more purchases, right? Let's say 5 just to lowball, because it's better to lowball than get higher expectations. I'll give this in a few examples. Let's say we've got med spa here. Med spa, right? One person, let's say they pay 500. Realistically, they're going to pay 5,000 because they're going to come back for more visits. It can be upsold, they can do this operation, that operation, procedure. Now, on top of that, we'd be looking at referrals. If the job was done properly, they're going to get all their female friends or homosexual friends or metrosexual males to get involved in the med spa. And now if it's, let's say, a different one, let's say real estate, right? This one would be referral based. Because realistically, when someone buys a house, it's going to be 10 years down the line, but referrals is also key. So while you need to understand their margins, you also have to have an understanding for the repeat or the follow purchases. Once you understand this, then you got the first key to negotiating, which is value. What is the value that you are bringing to the table? Where is the leverage? And you need to be able to identify the leverage. You have to be willing to speak about it and question your prospects about it. As an example, you can simply say, typically when you get one customer, does that customer buy again? Do they bring more people? And what is the average? And 99% of the time, they're going to shoot their numbers up. They're going to sound better than what they are, but we can use that against them. Obviously not too much, take it into consideration with a pinch of salt. But when they say, oh yeah, referrals are really good, we get 3 people, right? Let's say one person results in 3 people, and that one person has a lifetime value of 5,000. You can then bring up later, but now you mentioned that the lifetime value was 5,000. They'll say yes. And one person brings 3 people. Yes. Wonderful. So if I bring you one person, what I'm actually doing is I'm bringing you 20,000 on the basis that they're happy customers, on the basis that the first one pays is 20,000. They'll say, well, yes. Then what you want to do is, once you've clarified that, you want to lowball it. You say, okay, cool. Well, let's just bring it down a little bit. Let's say 10,000, right? Because obviously there's variables. Some people will refer, some people won't. they'll say, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But now you've got a leverage point that for every one person that you bring in, right, that's going to allow you to take in X or get paid X. But now this is the benefits that you can utilize, but you also have to take into consideration when things go wrong. One thing that many people don't calculate when looking at their prices is, what's it called? Yeah, there we go. Show up rate, right? What is the booking rate? What is the purchase rate? Now, if the show up rate is 50%, that's perfectly fine. We just have to take into consideration that our product will be down by 50%. The price per appointment is down by 50% because we recognize that half the people that we send are going to book. We have to take that into consideration. Let's say the booking rate is, this one doesn't matter too much. I won't mention it. We can do it on another call. Let's say the purchase rate. From the people that show up, how many buy? Let's say it's 70%. We have to take that into consideration. So let's say we say the value of one paying customer is 10,000. Let's assume that their margins are 25%. So they made 2,500 over a prolonged period of time. Now, let's say we want to take, let's say we take 20% of that. Yeah, I can't be asked to do the maths. So let's just call the 20% equals X. Now we have to do X, which is the price that we're going to charge. We're going to have to take into consideration the show up rate. We take into consideration the purchase rate. And now we have accurate pricing, or at least we've got pricing that we can play with. So this is the whole part of the negotiation aspect that we need to consider. Now the next thing is we have to look high to low. Now what I typically recommend is at the low end, you're taking 10%. At the high end, we're taking 30%. And now this is of the margins, right, that you actually bring. Not the imaginary ones, but the ones that you actually bring, because it has to make sense. The business has to be making money for you to make money. And in this space, you make money from a lot of clients, not a few clients. And as long as you've got a lot of clients and you're doing them a good service, and the pricing is good, they'll stay. But now, we've got 10% to 30%. Now, just to make maths easy, let's just say that this means that we'll get 1K, and this means that we'll get 3K. What you don't want to do is be an idiot who says, oh, we charge 3K and not go down. Let's say they say 2K, but now you're negotiating and you're saying, I won't go below 2.5K. You don't want to be the idiot who does that. Because what that means is you've lost all this fucking margin. Anywhere from 1K to 2.5K, you've lost that. So you have to take that into consideration and know how much to charge. Because at the end of the day, let's say you folded. You gave them the 2K. Now obviously you want to do the fuck me, fuck you principle on that, but you recognize that you haven't lost it. And now to the same extent, I've seen dumbasses who are able to basically close a deal, but what they've decided to do is saying, these guys really need me. I'm going to charge 6K. And guess what happened? He didn't sign. And the purpose, and the big reason that he can't sign that deal anymore is because he can't go from 6K down to 2K because that devalues it. You can't have that much of a point and have like that much respect left on the table. That's why the fuck me, fuck you principle is key. Because if I'm happy to take such a discount, why did I quote you that price in the beginning? So you need the fuck me, fuck you principle has to apply. And you need to know what is the high, what is the low. Now, let's just do this here again. Now, you need a walking point, right? So this is 1K, which we said previously was 10% of the money that they make. This is 3K, right? Anything below that, say, I don't think this is gonna work, end the call. If you see that they're not budging, end the call. If they can only afford this, end the call. Because it's not worth your time. Because now we have to consider two things. And there's two ways to value how you need to price. There's not two ways. These are the two ways people use. They see, cool, I want to make 10K. So I'm going to get 5 clients and they all need to charge 2K. Right? That's one way to look at it. So you divide the amount of clients that you have by how much money you want to make. But now the other way to look at it is how much value do I bring to the table? Now this is the correct way to do this. And based on this, you have to figure this one out. You You have to figure out this one before you figure out how many clients that you need to bring in to hit your 10K mark. So let's say your value is 1K. You need to do the maths and be like, look, my value is 1K a month. Now granted, it should be a lot higher. I'm just saying it for the ease of the maths. It's 1K per month. Now that means, cool, I need to get 10 clients. But now I know what price points I'm working with. Now obviously, if you know that you can do anywhere between 1 to 3K, that's gonna make a difference. Now let's bring it back to the location. So fundamentally, we're looking at SMMA for all of you, right? Nice and simple, ads, qualify, done properly, money, whatever fucking currency you want to use. Nice and simple. So, common sense dictates, where can I bring people the most amount of money? If you want to go do lead gen in buttfuck Republic of Congo, and Tom down the road goes to NYC, you guys can be the same niche. Tom's gonna make a lot more money because people in New York City have a lot more money to spend and things cost a lot more, and as such prices are according. So you want to know how you can get this up, right? How to hit this. Let's say hit the 6K mark. You need to find the places and the locations that charge more. The more they charge, the more you get to follow them. But now another thing that you need to do, coming back to the beginning, is you have to be considerate of the market. You need to understand what they charge in New York City, what they charge in the Republic of Congo, and based on that, you need to go. You also have to understand, is there demand for it in that market? Is that market easier to work with? Is it harder? For example, let's say you look at solar. Some places have regulations which allow solar panels to be promoted, and other places, it's not as efficient. So you have to use your brain, get an understanding of the market in order to be able to make the most from it. But now, how to negotiate? There are different ways to negotiate. The first one is, we'll call it the cunt method, because it is a cunt. It's hard sales. I know my value. I've done this a fucking million times. This is my pricing. I will not change because I know my value, right? It's aggressive. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. You can still negotiate, but it's much more aggressive. The next one that you can do is passive. Passive is where what they say, you're having a conversation and you're pushing to work together, right? Oh, so can you do this? Can you do that? Now, these are just two easy modes to do it, but now let's go into more detail. What you need to be doing is questioning, right? And so many people are generally scared to do this. Over here, people are scared to ask, what is the budget? When someone says, I have to look at the budget, my straight answer is, what's your budget? Because by asking budget, it's nice and simple. I'm going to get a yes. I'm going to get a no. I'm going to get a yes or a no. If I don't ask it, it's a fucking no. So I'm going to ask it. Now, I go to the point where I will comfortably ask somebody, what's in your bank account? How much cash do you have? Now, many people are scared to ask that because it's not a normal question. But because it's not a normal question, it puts off people. But you have to ask it in such a manner that they just think it's normal. Of course, they won't see it as normal. They're going to be put off by it. But exact same thing. Yes, no. And when someone says to you, oh, I'm not telling you that. Why would I tell you that? That's private. You tell them, look, it doesn't make a difference to my life. I'm trying to make this work for you, so I need to understand where you're at. If you tell me how much money you have, I can say, can it work, can it not work? Right? You can even just tell me how much you have available and we can see what we can do. But questions is key. And how you ask questions. But then we have Socratic questioning, which is a whole nother thing. Socratic. Questioning, where it's always asking them questions and any answer they give, it's another question, and just going deeper. So let's put it nice and simple. Let's say budget. What's your budget? They tell you, right? Then you say, where is it allocated? They tell you. How did you decide to allocate it? Where was your logic? They tell you. How much money are you making in each one of them? They tell you. And you go down to the point where you have all of the facts. And then based on that, you can make a logical argument. You can say, look, this isn't doing that, this isn't doing that. Why are you continuing it when you could be doing this? Why don't you just reallocate that when you can be doing this? Now, one common thing that someone may say is, okay, I'll have to think about it, I'll have to check to see if I can do this, do that. And what you have to tell them, nice and simple, and people are scared to do this, is deposit. Get to deposit. Now, understand, if someone doesn't pay you a deposit, it's because they think you're scum. They think you're lying. They think, I can't trust this person with my deposit. When they say no to a deposit, understand you couldn't have closed them. You weren't going to close them. And you need to figure out why. And what it means is objection handling. You did not cover it properly. So you need to pause, everything in your head goes pause. You need to go back in time and you have to think, cool, what didn't I ask? What could this be? And then you retouch all objections because they are not comfortable with you and you need to understand why they're not comfortable paying a deposit. Because if they're uncomfortable paying a deposit, why would they be comfortable paying you the full price? So if you can't get part of it, you were never going to get all of it. So you have to figure that out. And more often than not, they'll say, look, I have to think about it. Cool, perfect. Let's go bring it back into objection handling. Now, when it comes to negotiations and objection handling, this is your friend. Yeah, questions are your friend. But now, the way that you do this is you break down every aspect. Let's say you have the ads over here. Then you have the qualifying. And let's say you have weekly calls. Let's say you have follow-up, right? Now, this is part of it. What you do is you look into here, ask all the questions about the ads. Break it down, make it fucking simple, make it fucking stupid. Break it down. Any question that you can think that they may have on ads, you clarify and you say, are you familiar with all of this? By the way, with all of this and this, and you keep going, you keep going. Then you say, as an example, do you think we're going to struggle to do this part? Or are you confident in our capacity to do it? They say, yeah, I'm confident. Or if they bring it up, cool, we found the objection. You do the exact same thing with the qualification. But then you ask hyper-specific questions. So it's nothing to do with, oh, what do you think about qualifications? By the way, have you ever had an issue where someone was qualified, but then they turned out not to be qualified? And if so, could you run me through that? Or what happened? Then you have a whole question on qualification. You show that you're competent, that you understand the niche, that you're familiar with how things work. And then based on that, you then ask them, do you believe if we encounter problems, we'll be able to handle it, or are you unsure? Would you want us to be in more contact, or are you comfortable leaving us to do what we do? Now, if they say, I'd want to know, that means they don't trust you. That means they feel as though there may be things that you're not prepared for that could pop up. Now, obviously in some niches, that's okay, but only in specific cases. Let's say if it's something to do with a certain type of skin disease or a way to operate in a certain space or operations and procedures on certain places that require GDPR, right? Then that's okay. But more often than not, if they are worried in some cases, that means they do not see you as competent. But then we found our problem on why they're not going to purchase. Then weekly calls, same thing. Follow-up, same thing. But it's asking questions in the questions. They're not saying, do you like our follow-up? You look at the follow-up. This is follow-up. Let me break it down into 10 separate things. And based on these 10 things, you ask them all the relevant questions. Because at this point, you do this properly. Sure, you've extended the call a little bit, but now you've asked them 40 questions. If they have an objection that you haven't hit, the likelihood of you hitting it, perfect. The likelihood is so much higher when you've broken everything down and compartmentalized it. Don't know how to say the word, but that's the word, compartmentalize. And this is how you utilize objections, because objections are not objections. Many people see this incorrectly. They're simply queries. I spelled wrong, but yeah, queries that people have, and you need to be very comfortable pulling the queries out of them, because once they have no more queries, once they have no more questions, why won't they buy? If you've answered everything accordingly, why won't they buy? And obviously if you fuck up these answers and you don't have answers ready for them, then you're fucked. But now, how to answer objections or questions when negotiating in order to say the right thing. You have to recognize that this is how I see it, and I recommend you see it this way if you're able to. And that's typically based on IQ, but let's see how this goes. So, handling. I can handle borderline any objection anyone gives me. It's not because I have an answer, it's because I look at it from a virtual perspective. And what does that mean? So let's say problem X, or question X, or query X, or objection handling X. This is what has been asked, right? I understand the world, a world that it is in. I understand the world of their question. So where are they asking it about? Let's say it's an SMMA space. I understand let's say the 4 aspects of it. Now, when they have a query, I will quickly think, so they say, what about problem X? I'm going to look at A, B, C, D, E, F. These are all the variables that change, the things that are dynamic and not static, the things that can be adjusted, or the things that may influence what their question may be. And then based on the information I have in my brain, I will think of an answer. I will very quickly think logically. If I have A, B, C, and X comes in, X is going to change D, so D goes down here, E stays the same, and F needs an add-on. I'll quickly figure that out because I am familiar with the space. I'm familiar with the niche. I know what's happening inside and out. And what that means is, change a variable, I know how everything else plays. Good way to look at it is chess. If you are unfamiliar with how chess works, let's say you haven't played many games, right? When your opponent does this move, you're just going to do that move. This, that, this, that. And because you're not thinking about the consequences of what happens, all of a sudden you lose because you're in checkmate. Because you've only been looking at one step ahead because you don't know how all of these pieces play. Now, someone who's very familiar and is well versed in the game of chess, they will understand what effect is happening in the world of that board and how that plays into everything else. They'll see that when these movements are made, you need this to happen, because you recognize that this is all going to change and go into here. So you need a good understanding of what it's about and look at it from a theoretical position and answer accordingly. Many people fuck up. They're like, cool, question, if they have this objection, this is my answer. If they have this question, this is my answer. That's a completely wrong way to look at it. You have to look at it like a moving piece, like a formula. Whenever one thing changes or one thing is brought in, how does it affect everything? And based on that, you give your answer. Granted, this requires brain elasticity, but that's very important in you being an entrepreneur. It's 100% needed because it's all a revolving game. This goes up, this goes down, this comes in, this goes out, this changes here, this changes that. And you need to be on your toes because every day is different and you need to be comfortable in anticipating the changes in the day. And this is very key when negotiating on offers. Okay, now move on to offers. Offers, similar to pricing, needs to make sense. The first thing is, does it make sense in an ROI perspective? Right? Does it make sense for them? Does it make sense for me? Does everyone make money here? The next thing that we have to look at is, how can I make it appealing? Now, let's compare 2 different things. We're going to compare really shit to really good. Now, let's imagine I know my show up rate, and now this is of appointments that I book, or from what I send, I know what closes, and let's break it down like this. So we have ads, right? We have 1,000 leads from ads, right? From this, we are qualifying, right? Or attempting to qualify. We are able to reach 100 people. From this, let's say qualifying tick, as in from the 100 people that we were able to reach, granted 900 went to shit because they didn't pick up the phone, we were able to book in 10. From the 10 that we sent as an appointment, or as a close, or as a quotation, whatever it may be, niche dependent, we have 3 people who are able to pay our client. And this here goes to client dollar bill. Now, when it comes to making offers, recognize that we can make an offer at all points here. We can make an offer with the leads because we know how much they make, and based on how much they make, we know how much we can charge. This is based on what was previously discussed. So over here, we can make an offer saying, cool, based on this, I know that you're gonna get 3 customers. And I know for this, 3 customers, I'm gonna charge you 3,000. Now when it comes to making the offer, you could tell them, look, hit 1,000 leads, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna charge 3,000. So the price per lead is gonna be really low, but you still make the same amount of money because you understand how much money, you understand the price, you understand the market, and you understand how much they're gonna make and how much you need to make. Or you could tell them, I'm gonna charge you for 10 qualified people, right? So you're gonna send them 10 people. You charge 3,000. Or you say, upon the close, and you know your maths, it's gonna be 3,000. But now when you're making the offer, you have to make it the most appealing offer that you can. So you have to offer it as far down here, like as far down on this side as possible, because that provides the most reassurance. Because recognize that over here is a shit. Over here, your client has to work to get this 100. Over here, from the 100 to the 90, removing 90, they have to do this work. Now, there are people who genuinely just offer leads. Now, granted, anyone in our community does not offer leads, so I know you don't just offer leads. But now, there are people who offer qualified. There are people who offer deals. But now, which one of these is more appealing? Obviously this one. But now, how do you structure it so that it works well? And how do you do your pricing? What is more appealing? And you have to look at your niche. Is your pricing saying, cool, I know that I'm going to send 10 people a month, so I'm going to charge per appointment that comes in. And I'm going to pre-charge 10. So I'm going to get 3K, and after that, come as they go. Or are you going to do a monthly retainer where you know, cool, I'm going to be sending 10 appointments, give or take. So I'm just going to charge a monthly retainer of 3K. Or are you going to change the retainer model to, I don't actually have a name for this, but basically the way that this model works is you charge for every 10. Every 10. I've changed many contracts with people that I've worked with where they've given me their quotations monthly. I'm like, what results are you going to get me monthly? And they say, I'm going to get you 20 appointments as an example. I then tell them, cool, fuck your monthly. I'll pay X every 20. Every 20 that you bring, I will pay X. Now, obviously, they have to meet your criteria, but until I get 20, I won't pay you. And you tell them. Or in this case, when it's flipped, you tell them, what that means is, if you do your job really well, you're going to make a lot more money. And if you don't do your job well, I'm chilling because you're not going to get paid. So it's similar to a monthly retainer, but it's a retainer based on quantity. It's my quantitative retainer model. I've just named it, right? So based on quantities. Or you could do it based on full performance. Performance where when the deal closed, you get paid X%. Or you get paid a dollar amount every time there is a close. Now you have to recognize all of these fundamentally are the same things. Because you do your pricing correctly and you know what you're going to produce, you're charging the exact same shit. And that's how it should be done. At a proper level, that's how it's done and that's how you retain clients. Because the last thing that you want to do is, cool, they're still making money, but they're not making a lot of money because you're taking the bulk out of it. You want a client long-term in this space because that's what gets you results. So let's say we have offer A, B, C, D. So we have all of these offers and we've structured, let's just put it down. This is a quantitative retainer. This is the retainer. This is just A. This is pay per appointment, right? And then obviously, let's say A is the Trojan horse. This is the Trojan horse, right? Which one is gonna sound most appealing to my market? They all make me the same amount of money because my money is accurate. How much I charge is accurate. But now, which one's gonna sound most appealing to my market? And now, each one, how can you adjust them in a negotiation? One big thing that you need to understand. So, on the pay-per appointment, cool, the pricing is different. So now, let's say they wanna go up or down. How much can I go up by? How much can I go down by? Because it's much easier to calculate it on a retainer because they're going to say, cool, I want a little bit down. Then you see, cool, if I do a little bit down, I'm going to offer less appointments per month, or it's going to work out. Because in some cases, let's say it's a 2K retainer, but now they say they want 1K and you're providing them 20 appointments. You need to recognize, we've got the low, we've got the high, as an example, 10 to 30%, right? If they fuck around with the retainer too much, you have to look at it. You have to say, does this go below the threshold, or is it in my threshold? And if it's in the threshold, is it worth taking on? And you need to be able to negotiate. As an example, I just thought of this now. Let's say you've proposed a 2K retainer. You know that your threshold is 1K. You can comfortably take 1K and it's a fair price and you're happy to do the work for 1K. You say, cool, I want 1K plus percent. Now granted, you don't give a fuck about the percent. You care about the 1K, but you know it's in your model so you can get it done. Now 1K is a benign figure. But now, with all of these, right? Let's say we've got A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. You know A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. And all of these are adjustments to the offer, right? And we have B, C, D. All of them with their own variations and adjustments to the offer, where you know, based on the results that you'll get, based on the money that they will make, what can I do? Where can I go? Because you need to know that. You can't be one of those twats who say, we charge a 2K retainer. And then when someone says, cool, I can do 1.5 or 1K or whatever amount, you say, no, we charge 2K. And then you lost potential business, because on the basis that you do your work correctly, they'll get the results and they're happily pay. And you can just adjust it, put a fuck me, fuck you, where you still make your money back. Another example. Let's say someone says, you can even pre-prepare the fuck me, fuck yous. Let's say that this is the retainer model, right? Let's say they want to go down by 50%. It's gone from 2K down to 1K, right? What you can do is say, cool, I want 2K, I want 1K plus a percentage. I want 1K plus a price per close. I want 1K plus a price per appointment. And that's what makes up the difference. So that's what makes a little bit more money. But what you know for a fact is you would have happily said yes to the 1K because that's within the 30 to 10% of their margins that you have pre-calculated, you know how much they make. And let's say you end up at 1K at 15%. You don't need all of this or the paper appointment or the extra stuff to make up the big difference. You just need it to take you a little bit higher because you're making a little bit more money. But in order to do that, you need to understand your offers. You need to understand under what circumstances can I negotiate. So depending on the offer, which offer is best for my market, which offer is best for the people that I speak to, which offer is best based on the niche. Because each niche, different offers work. Different offers sound more appealing, some are overused, some are never been used before. Which in some cases is more attractive, in other cases is less attractive, but heavily depends on who you speak to. But you have to understand, where can I go? This is my fucking circle. Yeah? I don't have to stay here. I can go here, there, there. It's like a clock. Right? You understand what remit you can go under and where you can't. You recognize that over here, I don't touch this. But you need to understand all of this when it comes to negotiation. Now, this is the first part of the negotiation. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.